Let's try another example of completing the square in order to solve a quadratic equation. This equation we're going to take, here we go, 8x squared minus 24x plus 3 equals 0. Okay? And just like before, the first thing I have to do is separate the variables from the constant. So I'm going to move the 3 over to the other side of the equation by subtracting 3 from both sides. So I'm going to get 8x squared minus 24x equals negative 3. Okay? The next thing I have to do, just like before, is get the coefficient of x squared equal to 1. And in order to do that, I have to divide both sides of the equation by 8. So I'm going to get x squared minus 3x is equal to negative 3/8. Okay. Now, the next thing I have to do is take a look at the coefficient of the x term and divide that by 2. Negative 3 divided by 2. And this can't be simplified any further, but I am going to put parentheses around it. Okay? And where I'm going to use it now is I'm going to square it and add it to both sides of the equation. So I have x squared minus 3x plus negative 3/2 squared. And that's going to equal my negative 3/8 right from right here. Now I have to add in plus. Now this thing squared is going to come out to be positive 9/4. Okay, and again I'm going to write it normally on this side of on the right side of the equation, but I'm going to leave it as negative 3/2 squared on the left side of the equation because I know what the next step is that I want, and then that is that I need to write it as write the right side of the equation as a perfect square. And I'm going to take my x from here and my minus 3/2 quantity and square the entire quantity, and this will simplify over here to minus 3/8 plus, if I'm going to get a common denominator here, so I'm going to multiply the numerator and the denominator by 2 and get 18/8. This simplifies to 15/8 over here. Now, again, if I were to do FOIL on this quantity squared right here, I would get x squared minus 3x plus 9/4, or negative 3/2 squared. Okay, so this is how to write the perfect square of this side of the equation over here. Okay, then the last thing I have to do is take the square root of both sides of the equation, which gives me x minus 3/2 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 15/8, which simplifies to this plus or minus the square root of 15 over 2 times the square root of 2. And if I'm going to rationalize my denominator, this is going to be plus or minus the square root of 30 all over 4. Okay, now I have to add 3/2 to both sides of the equation. Over here I'm going to get x, and I'm going to add my 3/2 over here plus or minus the square root of 30 over 4. And that's my answer.